There's an old saying around these parts that goes, "What the fuck is Sony thinking about?" So in the wake of the success of Wonder Woman, Sony is now jumping the gun and trying to put out an all-female superhero team based on the Spider-Man universe, which sounds terrible. I don't know how anyone can get excited about it, but let's go into the details. So over on comicbook.com, which is very SJW leaning, based on the article I've read from one Megan Peters, the article goes, "Men have dominated the superhero films for years, but women are starting to fight for the spotlight with a vengeance." No, they're not. There's one, Wonder Woman. The big popular ones are the solo guy movies, and then you have the team ones that have women on the team. So the Avengers is one of the biggest films of all time. There's women on the Avengers. What's your fucking point? Now the article just goes on to say that over on Splash Report, the scoop-friendly site recently wrote about a tip one of its insiders submitted. The source claims that Wonder Woman's unprecedented hype has led Sony to go all in on a new team of superheroes. I wouldn't say it's unprecedented hype. It's a superhero movie in the golden age of superhero movies that made $100 million. And if you notice that they're trying to spin it as a record-breaking film, oh, it's the first female-led movie, the first female-directed film to break $100 million at the box office opening weekend. Okay, that's like a participation award. That's not an actual achievement. Spider-Man in 2002 being the first film to break $100 million in 3 days, that made it to the Guinness Book of World Records. Wonder Woman's not going to get into the Guinness Book of World Records because the real world's a meritocracy, and it's not, oh my god, you did something that other things have done, but a woman did it. That's kind of sexist. Like, that's the definition of sexism to me. On to the bullshit from the bullshit. And I quote, "With Wonder Woman opening this week, it's a pretty good bet Sony is taking universe building tips from Warner DC. Why?" The site wrote. Here's another why. A question to your question, if you will. Why would you take universe building tips from a failed universe? I know Wonder Woman's new and it made a bunch of money, but it's the fourth film in a universe building franchise and the other ones all suck. Like, Wonder Woman's just pretty good, not amazing like everyone's saying it is. You can listen to our review on this channel. The point is, why? This is like the definition of spin and bullshit and clickbait. You want tip building from fucking Warner Brothers. Alright, well, you're going to start out with a stupid movie that shits on the character's origin. Then you're going to make a stupider sequel that shits on the character's origin and shits on everything else the universe is built on. Then you're going to make the third film, which is arguably the worst movie ever made in the superhero genre. So, do you understand why I'm questioning their whole thought process of maybe we should, follow suit? No, this is all bullshit and spin. Back to the article. Silver and Black is the setup for an all-female Spider-VerseTeam movie. It ends with Silver Sable, Nick Fury, rounding up a team of the Black Cat, Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, Charlotte, Witter, Stunner, Sarah Earhart, Jackpot, and Cassie St. Commons as Dusk. Now, I've been reading Spider-Man for most of my life. The first thing I think I remember ever reading was Spider-Man 383. So what are we talking about, 24 years ago? So I've been reading Spider-Man comics for a long time. I don't know who Stunner is, and I'm sure I know who Dusk is, but I just can't think of her off the top of my head. But I think the writer of this leak is overestimating the importance and popularity of these characters. It's a lot like in the late 30s, early 40s, when after the whole Superman boom happened, or during it, I should say, all these like third-rate publishers were pumping out characters you've never heard of. And they just kept pumping them out, and they assumed that since Superman was popular, all these other characters were going to be popular. And I think we're under the same assumption and having the same problem right now, where everyone assumes, oh my god, the Avengers made $1 billion, and this and that. Well, anything that's a superhero movie is going to make a bunch of money. But that's not true. Even in a post-Avengers world, we've had superhero flops. Fan4stick was a fucking flop on every level. It was critically raped, it barely made any money at the box office, and it had a troubled production. And it came out in a post-Avengers 1 and 2 world. I mean, this is post-Guardians of the Galaxy. It came out in August of 2015, and the movie was shit. So people aren't just buying anything that's based on a comic book. People have brand loyalty. This Spider-Verse thing that they think is a big moneymaker isn't. I would say your average Spider-Man fan will know who the Black Cat is. Less of that number will know who Silver Sable is. Less of that will know who Stunner is. Less of that will know who Jackpot is, and even smaller amount will know who Dusk is. Now, Spider-Woman, kind of popular, but are you really going to have one movie that explains all these women that just so happen to team up? And if it's the Spider-Verse, where does Spider-Man fall? I think Sony's forgetting that, as an audience, we want to see Spider-Man, the character that all the people love. No one gives a fuck about these other ancillary characters. If they made a Daily Bugle movie without J. Jonah Jameson being played by J.K. Simmons, that would flop. Because no one gives a fuck about Betty Brant, or Ned Leeds, or Gloria Grant, or Ben Urich. No one gives a fuck about those characters, just like no one really gives a fuck about these characters. It's not a good idea. Now, the article over on comicbook.com is saying, well, it's only a rumor because Sony's busy with Spider-Man Homecoming next month. And this is also a made-up rumor. A fake fucking rumor made up by some idiots. If this rumor happens to be true, I think it's a terrible idea, and it'll be another Sony Marvel film that I skip in theaters. I skipped The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in theaters. I would skip Spider-Man Homecoming if it wasn't for this channel. I don't like Spider-Man movies anymore. They did it perfectly with Spider-Man 1 and 2. 3 was bad. But they're not learning from their mistakes. It's that the fact that they're just pushing for, we want it to be more like the Ultimate Universe, and we want it to be a even younger Spider-Man, and the only things they're worried about are how he gets a costume that looks the way it does and the fact that he has web shooters. That's what they think you people want because it's all you guys bitch about. No one ever criticizes the lack of respect that Peter Parker had for Ant-Man the Amazing Spider-Man, or his general just wrong demeanor. And no one praises the fact that Tobey Maguire, who cried in 2 scenes that the whole internet's going on about because it's a fucking meme, no one goes on about what a good job he did portraying the actual character of Peter Parker. And no one ever goes on about how Sam Raimi inherently understood the character of Spider-Man and presented the universe properly the first time out. No, everyone wants to harp on, I didn't like to see it, Kirsten Dunst is ugly, Spider-Man 3 is shitty. Great, but it doesn't take away the achievements of the first 2 films. The only reason you complain about that is because people on the internet complain about it, and you haven't really watched those films, either in a long time or ever, because you're under the assumption they suck. I've made a video about the 15th anniversary of the first Spider-Man movie. The first one was a game changer. That was an event. Okay, that was bigger than Star Wars was that year. It made more money than Star Wars. I think Lord of the Rings was the biggest movie that year because it was a sequel, and then Spider-Man. But I'm just saying, Spider-Man was a huge deal. The whole world kind of like was waiting for that movie. And then the second one came out, and it was even better. And then the third one came out, and it sucked. And we've been on a steep decline ever since because Sony has continually interjected itself heavier and heavier into the Spider-Man franchise. We're not dealing with someone that has a vision, that loves Spider-Man, that wants to bring his vision to the screen. Or we don't have a Kevin Feige who's adamant on classic Marvel and adapting that. No, we have a bunch of money-hungry producers. And money's not bad. I don't think that making a movie for financial gain's bad, but if it's the only reason, and you're only doing the things that require the least amount of effort to make money, and it doesn't even be the most amount of money, just we're going to put in this little bit of effort and make some money, that's lazy. Like the Avengers, I'll go back to the big money maker. You can tell a lot of love and time was put into that movie. Great acting, great effects, great score, great action scenes, funny script, memorable lines. Sony hasn't done that. They haven't done that in 10 years. So before I make this rant way too long, I just would like to say again that this is a terrible fucking idea. Take a bunch of characters that no one gives a fuck about and remove the one factor, the one little web that ties everything together that people actually love, Spider-Man, remove him from the equation, and you got the most boring parts of a very unestablished and uninteresting franchise. So, if this happens, I'm guessing another flop for Sony. You know, they had Ghostbusters last year. I don't know why they're all hellbent on an all-female anything, because it doesn't attract everybody. Little boys aren't sexist because they want to play with Spider-Man action figures and not Spider-Girl or Spider-Gwen or whatever the fuck they want to make nowadays. Kids aren't sexist. Little boys like what they like. So if a little boy likes what he likes and he sees on TV there's an all-female Marvel movie and he doesn't know those characters and doesn't like them, well, that kid doesn't want to see the movie, and the parents aren't going to go see it because they don't know who the characters are either. And those characters aren't popular. It's not like Deadpool, who's popular to a young generation, but not an older generation. Spider-Woman is like a B-list character. The Black Cat is, I guess, a big player in the Spider-Man universe, but she's not the main female. She's the only one that actually can go out and physically do stuff from the big, characters, the Mary Janes, the Gwen Stacys. And Silver Sable was really popular in the 80s and 90s. She's really not relevant anymore. She's just a mercenary from a fictional Eastern European country. I think it's a fake country she's from. I don't remember off the top of my head. The point is, all you're going to get is a Salt ripoff, and all you're going to get is a Catwoman ripoff. You're going to get a bunch of shit. So, thanks for watching. Check out the rant on Wonder Woman where I make fun of a feminist who complained that Wonder Woman was too sexy for her, and that's why the movie's a failure. The fuck ever. Anyway, I'm the host of World Class Bullshitters. We'll be back tomorrow night with another podcast. Can't wait to see you guys.